Bambiz Marketing presents Elder Law Growth, the podcast that helps elder law and estate planning attorneys attract clients without wasting time or money. I'm your host, Amy Hurst. Let's dive in.
That was the big problem. What all lawyers lack is enough time to get what we want done accomplished. I mean, that's a pretty common problem no matter what area you're in. And I believe when it comes to my industry in the elder law field, that's particularly true because, look, what we sell is something everybody needs. It's just like you said, it's getting the word out about that and convincing people to take the steps to actually make it happen. Here's how remarkable this has worked. I do bi-weekly seminars for my firm where you can come and watch my seminar and then earn a free consultation. I walk into these seminars now at times to 20 to 30 leads who I've never talked to in my life before, who walk into the place I'm presenting at and point at me and say, "Oh, there he is. There he is. He's the guy from the video in Facebook. The guy that's been emailing and calling. Yeah. Hey, Dan, how are you? Great to see you." I'm just meeting them for the first time. So come on in. I mean, they literally feel as though they know me. They trust me already. And they're excited to hear what I have to say. And, to be able to walk into that and have it automated and easy is why I'm able to have the time to, actually handle all those clients on the back end.
That was Dan Hill, an estate planning attorney who no longer has to worry about the one thing most attorneys have to struggle with, and that is turning warm leads into paying clients. Dan has a solid system set up at his law firm to make sure that no potential client slips through the cracks. And because he has a system set up, an efficient system, he's not only saving time, but he's making more money than he's ever made. Recently, we asked Dan to come on as a special guest speaker for our Level Up Elite group for elder law and estate planning attorneys. And we asked him to come on to talk about the system that he has at his law firm and to share what it's like to have an efficient system and how it's made a difference. And according to him, it's been nothing short of a miracle. Of course, Dan did hire a professional to get the system set up, which I'll include that information down below with this podcast if you are interested in hiring a professional. But in this episode, we're going to focus on what you can do today, right now, without hiring a professional. This is for those of you who want to take the bull by the horns and get it done yourself. In the interview, Dan mentioned a few key strategies that really make a difference at his law firm when it comes to converting leads into paying clients. And in this episode, you're going to hear the top three things, the top three takeaways on how you can implement these strategies at your law firm today. So let's dive in. Let's go into it. Here's the takeaway. Here's the first takeaway, and it's about scheduling.
Scheduling was my nightmare, right? Because number one, when I would get on the phone with a potential client, well, they're already talking to me. So now I'm stuck in a 20, 30 minute conversation sometimes and can't get out of it. I primarily use sending the link. I really do. And it's getting to the point where at the end of my workshop, I always sit with my client service person and we start, as people leave, try to get them to schedule. And I say, "Well, would you like to schedule?" "Oh, I already did." Okay.
Oh my God.
They makes it that easy. And I'll say this, it also forces out a lot of the lawyer head trash that I had. You get this idea that if someone wants a meeting with you, well, I better make it 2 or 3 weeks from now so that they think I'm busy. I don't want to let them think, well, no, look, if they can schedule it themselves, you'd be amazed. So many people want to come in just the next day or a couple of days from then. And it just gets them through faster. You end up processing more leads in a month than you would have normally.
Dan's potential clients set up the appointments themselves. This saves Dan that awkward conversation at the end of his seminars of asking people to sign up with him afterwards. Can you imagine not having to ask people to sign up with you afterwards? Dan doesn't have to do that anymore because he has this system in place. They already do it themselves. So here's the first takeaway for you. When you're doing your next seminar, your next workshop, have someone on your staff, on your team, to send out an automatic text message or an email. Text message might get more responses, and ask them to have them send them that appointment link 5 minutes before you're done speaking. So that way they see that note and they'll already have access to your calendar, and they'll set up an appointment with you before you're even done speaking. Takeaway number 2 from Dan is about text messaging and how he uses it to actually save time on the phone. And so let's hear what he has to say.
So they call, which brings that up on my recent contact list, right? So it's sitting there and I get a notification on my phone that I got a new call that I missed. So I go onto my platform on my desktop, I pull that up. If they left me a voicemail, it's right there. I can play it. Now, oh, Dan, I was just thinking of scheduling a workshop, but I'm just not sure if it's going to be rainy or snowy next week. Well, listen, if I call that person back, they're going to talk to me for 20 minutes. So I go to chat function. Hi, Mrs. Smith. We'd love to have you at a workshop. The next one's on November 7th. If you'd like to register, here's a link. And she does it herself. Or, if they want to schedule a meeting and I do call them back, well, I just hit appointment, add new. And then I kind of have a very strict process I follow at my firm, but I have essentially 5 or 6 different types of meetings that I do. So based upon whatever type of meeting it is, I just say, look, that's what it is. And it brings up my calendar. I can pick a time and day. I hit add and it puts it right on my calendar in my own relationship management system that I use, remarkably. And there you go. It's done. When you answer people, I know lawyers get a little weird and think that texting maybe is too informal. When a client gets a text back from me through that web portal on my web page, their jaw hits the floor. I've had at least 5 or 6 people tell me, the reason I'm coming in to talk to you is you answered right away. And other people don't even answer their phone for a couple days. So it's just about being responsive, and it just makes it so easy to do that.
And you've been there yourself, right? We've all been there. You get into a phone call with a potential client that could have easily been answered by text message because it was a yes or no question, and you're stuck there for 20 or 30 minutes. I'm sure that story from Dan made you all cringe a little because we've all been there. So here's takeaway number 2. Instead of calling them back, reply back with a text message, especially if it's something that you could just send a link to or a link with. Text messaging just saves you so much time and it's easier for people to respond to. Also, here's the thing. Very few law firms, elder law and estate planning law firms, have not implemented this at their practices yet. It's still uncharted waters. So when you reply back with a text message, it will really grab their attention. And that's exactly what you want. So what was it like for Dan before he had a system set up? Here's what he said.
I spend 20 minutes filling out a form at the beginning of the month. And then I walk into 2 workshops where I have 20 or 25 people walk in who act like they know me. I was doing traditional advertising, right? Trying to get things on the radio, press releases, things of that nature, right? I'd be lucky if I had 6 or 7 people tell me they were probably going to come, and I'd have 1 or 2 actually show up. And it took 10 times the effort to make that happen on my own. Once I found these 2 things, like I said, I told you the result, and that all happened in a matter of 6 to 9 months. You know what I mean? So it really did revolutionize what I was doing.
The third and final takeaway is so simple here, folks. If your current system, your current follow-up system isn't converting people, then you need to ditch that system and find a new system quick. And because that's like money slipping through your fingers. The follow-up system, the marketing automation system, it is one of the most important systems every business needs, not only to survive, but to thrive. And don't go it alone. Have your staff help you. Have somebody dedicated to the follow-up, to the text messages, to the emails, or you could hire someone like Dan, how Dan hired a professional. And according to Dan, it's making him more money than having no system at all. So if you have questions about having a follow-up system, if you're curious what to do, if you have more questions about the text messages, emails, we do help people with the scripts. If you do have questions about that, please send us an email anytime, team@bambiz.net. That's TEAM@bambiz.net. And one of our staff will get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for listening to the Elder Law Growth Podcast, the place to be for all things marketing for elder law and estate planning law firms. If you liked this podcast, please leave us a review wherever you are listening to this podcast. If you'd like to outsource your marketing to our team, go to bambiz.net and book a free call with us today.